Love it. Hey everyone, welcome back to EQcast. I'm your host, Christy Pritchard. This is where you can find sassy shares of authentic humans around emotional intelligence, healing, spirituality, and psychedelic therapy. I am really excited today. I have on my show someone I've actually been following on YouTube for the last year and probably a year and a half. And little does she know how much she's actually helped me through some pretty tough But we have connected here on the podcast now. She's a tarot card reader and an energy healer, Meredith Hackler. Welcome to the show, Meredith.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. We've just been chatting for a while and lots of beautiful, interesting things to discuss today. We're going to be talking about soul connections, twin flames specifically. I know that's your area of special.
My favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe the differences between the connections and how to decipher which one you're in, what they look like, what they feel like. And yeah, we've just been catching up and getting to know each other. So we didn't really talk about what we're going to talk about other than this is our main MO here. Yeah. So do you want to tell the audience a little bit about what it is you do on YouTube? And
yeah, well, I wing it every single day. Yeah. Literally, I'm just channeling the cutting edge of what I'm shown. So I read energy, I channel divine information as it comes through, but I've been kind of tracking this on YouTube for a year and a half or so. When COVID hit, I left my day job to go back to tarot card reading on Facebook, and I was tracking ascension energies. I did daily readings on Facebook, and partway through 2020, the divine masculine and feminine energies started showing up in my ascension readings. So what do I mean by that? Typical relationships on the planet these days are very transactional and very convenience-based, and there is this whole movement as humanity raises in ascension. We're realizing that personal sovereignty, autonomy is bringing in a whole new criteria for genuine connection and authenticity. And so the twin flame templates are all about reclaiming that and coming together in wholeness, free from codependency, and having up-leveled out of the karmic drama and lessons and finding the clarity so we can reach our highest potential and all of that. So I've literally been going for this as an artist, as a visionary all of my life. I feel like I've seen so much of that past timeline illuminated just even from the time I was born has predisposed me to be doing this right now.
amazing.
Awesome to see it. And only since being on YouTube have I seen it, which is kind of a trip. But nonetheless, I woke up to being on a twin flame journey in 2018 and then saw these reverberations back through my life and how it relates. But because I had been aware and saw YouTube videos here and there, I had that in the back of my mind as I was watching some twin flame videos. But I've always read tarot cards. I had a healing center at one point in the past where I was a practitioner and read tarot cards.
So, amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had Do Nothing Flotation Center with sensory deprivation tanks and
Awesome.
Resonate Organic Juicery. I had that in Vermeer. And
the Coonies. Yeah.
Yeah. So we moved out to the coast at some point in that journey, and I was working here. And basically when COVID hit, I stayed home with my children and started doing these tarot card readings on Facebook and tracking the ascension. And I started realizing how all this isolation was like a chrysalis phase for humanity, and started seeing how the energies were unfolding and how we were all tuning in and withdrawing from certain things and becoming more authentic and tapping into our gifts and talents and all of that. And so I watched this ascension thing happening. And because I'd known about the twin flame process, I started recognizing these themes emerging in my ascension readings. And I literally had the emperor sending out the chariot for the empress, and realized I had to kind of quarantine divine counterparts off onto YouTube because I'd been fascinated with YouTube readings. And so it just organically made sense at some point when those themes were more heavily showing up in my ascension readings than not. I knew they needed a voice. And so I witnessed that and moved it to YouTube. That was kind of somewhere near the middle of 2020. And then by December of 2020, I had fully gotten into the YouTube reading and automated bookings and was doing readings and fully left my day job and went back into this.
Amazing.
full
And
time.
that's coincidentally when I found you, was December of 2020, when I had moved into my own place and left my connection and came here. And you were one of the first people that I saw about it. I had no idea. I had not learned about it. I went through my separation, and not to get too personal, but but it was just, you just happened to show up on my YouTube channel. You're just such a light, fresh breath of fresh air, and you just have a lot of amazing insights. And it's so funny too, because any reading, and I would try and pull myself out of what I was going through personally to see if I could listen objectively, to see if it would relate, and every time it related, so much so. And there was maybe one reading in the last year that you've done that didn't make sense for where I was at, which is, those are pretty surreal odds if you ask me. And so that's showing the collective energies are truly there. And I've absolutely to other readers as well, and not quite the same, but I think we really resonate with certain people, readers, and a collective of individuals within this whole framework, I believe anyways.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me. I just wanted to say really quickly, when the divine masculine and feminine started coming into my ascension readings, I was literally told through the channeling that was the energetic marker on the planet, that the potentials for divine relationship, or the ascended relationship templates, the new earth templates coming in, that are going to be the foundation of the peace on earth and our unity consciousness, our level 1 global society now, our cosmic player society. We need those fundamental healed templates as building blocks for all of that. And so if we have the dramatic karmic transactional things, it creates an instability structure at the foundation of our societies. And so when the divine masculine and feminine started coming in on those readings, it was like the energetics of the planet had recalibrated. And that's when it started popping off. Like YouTube got all that. All the people who resonated with it started finding the readings. It became popular culture. The twin flame name, when the divine masculine and feminine polarities did that, boom, now it's a household term.
Now it's a household term for sure. I think people get the term confused a little bit as well, because I know I've discussed it with people a few times. So maybe let's clarify for the audience the difference between the definitions of twin flame, soulmate, and karmic. And just to say, I personally don't like the term twin flame. I wish it was like flame or something. The fact that it's just one other person is a whole, we'll talk about that a bit later. But for now, let's definitely like narrow down the definitions and then the differences between the three of them. Or if there are more, then please let me know. But I know about those three. So cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, take them all with a grain of salt, but everybody's used to the soulmate. So soulmates, that can be your cat or your family member or what have you, a stranger for a moment. A soulmate is a soul connection. It's a teacher. It's something that really teaches us something, and it can be filled with drama or it can be very peaceful and idyllic. It doesn't matter. It's a teacher and a soul connection. I think when we evolve enough, we can find that soulmate energy in absolutely everything, all times, 24/7. But so soulmate's that thing. And there's just so much coming about all of this, because as we move away from, let's say, forced monogamy is what I want to say, but it's really a can of worms there, because our transactional relationships, those are very karmic. They are very 3D based. They are very of the world. They are a reflection of certain templates in society that run on a certain frequency.
Like the tit for tat kind of thing. Is that what you
but also it's more of a business arrangement. They have financial tax incentives and like all of the way that energetically. So it's such a can of worms, because when we get into the inner workings of a typical relationship, it's more of a business agreement, and there are transactional things. You do this, I do that, all of that. It's not just unconditional love. There's an agreement. It's conditional. It's based on a certain code of conduct. And there are competition templates in that. There are different keeping track of a tally of things. It's a fairness. It's legalistic. It's awkward in so many ways, and it serves its purpose. That's more of a karmic thing. It
conditional.
Yeah, conditional. So karma is a word that talks about the lessons in something. It doesn't mean it's bad or good. It just is ripe with instruction for what we can do next. The twin flame or twin soul, there's lots of different references through all human history of this same template. And really, it talks about the unity between two in a real connection. And so whether there are, I mean, lots of people believe that there are more than one twin soul, that we can have access that's an energy, that it can move from person to person. The idea is that there is just one when there is full mastery and recognition of the divine connection within the individual, that there only becomes that one option. All the other lessons fall away. Love is the only eternal, and that we can self-organize into being so much of an embodiment of love that we do have that one other counterpart that meets us in that way, in the same frequency. And then we get into all these things that the twin flames bring in, which are mission based. We hear about mission and karmic clearing and all of that.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. Oftentimes we'll get into the vicinity of manifesting a twin flame into our lives. And it's usually when we've gone through quite a bit of our own personal mastery. For instance, I channeled the other day. This was eye-opening for me because just in the last week on YouTube, the one proof if you're a twin flame or not came through. I'm not sure if you would have seen that video, but it was shocking to me.
I can't remember what it was, though. What was it again?
Yeah, the one proof that the divine channeled through was that if you want to know if you're on a twin flame journey, the one proof is that you have had this soul cry moment that you dare to believe.
Yes, in true love.
That you could access true love in this lifetime. And that is something you can't fake. And it's a coming to God moment where you literally go to the divine and say, I want the real thing.
Yeah.
And that's the moment through free will, because we live in an emotionally driven, conditional and unconditional fear versus love, dualistic nature here in this universal plane. And as we navigate through our emotions, our free will is what puts us in alignment with anything and our consciousness. So when we have that coming to God moment and we say, I want the real thing, that's the beginning of the quantum process that rolls out through our life, and it can be a lifelong process. That's another beautiful
lifelong process from
right. Yeah, but in this incarnation, we are literally going from a 3D alignment to a 5D alignment. And this is the generation where we go from a segregated world to a unified globe.
Yeah.
And this also is the lifetime where we go from the three-wheel dump truck energy of the karmic relationships to the harmony of divine relationship.
Yeah.
And so we are the specialists. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We're the ones that are star-seeded or born in through the particular coordinates that are equipped to do that in this lifetime. I channel every single day. I do these personal readings. I'm saturated in this. This is my life path, and I'm here for this. And what I've been shown is that it'll still be maybe another 500 years before 51% of humanity has cleared enough of the generational influences and imprinting and belief structures that would allow them to come into the understanding of what true connection is, to trust their own hearts, to be ready to embrace that love, because pure love is very confronting. It makes us do the work. We have to shed absolutely everything. And so the karmic path of twin flames, when you've done enough work in and of your own journey and come into a personal mastery, then we slam this other free will universe into the mix with our twin flame. And that's where we go into relationship specialization and the twin flame journey. And every time when the DF and the DM, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, these are just contemporary terms for it.
Yeah.
When we meet, it's unusual, it's synchronistic, it's weird, and scary and overwhelming. And it's the whole spectrum of things. And then there's this process of closing the gap towards union. And every single thing that comes up on the journey that looks like a deal breaker, all of the fears, the obstacles, the logistics, every single one of them has a divine solution. Through spiritual mastery, we can not circumnavigate them, but literally see the divine truth through them. And so as we clear each of these karmic things, each pair of twins clears and mirrors that journey and comes into union when all of the other things in themselves and in their world heal and come into harmony. And that coalesces. So mission comes in, and gifts and talents and love, and we become love in the world just by being open to following what's written on our heart and going in that direction. It's stunning. So that's
which
the
is twin again
flame.
scary. Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so
perfect.
there is just this one rare accountability buddy. I call it the tensegrity of the twins, beyond all. And that can change. I mean, I've been married twice now, and had I known about twin flames from those developmental vantage points, I probably would have said, oh yes, that's my twin flame.
Yeah, right.
But it keeps leveling up. So it's a tricky thing to assume that we're at a level that we know for certain who our twin flame is.
Yeah.
But it's the signs and synchronicities that keep us going in the particular direction with a certain person. Those can shift. You can have signs and synchronicities with someone that's the soulmate, or anybody you focus your attention on can be a muse, and the divine can talk to you through signs and synchronicities. It's mostly for our own intimate connection to source that we have those signs and synchronicities. And we're not meant to put that on the person that is our twin or not our twin or maybe our twin. Yeah. We're meant to have that connection with source. And that's the orientation that allows the twin flame journey to make sense. So in that case, we're not so fixated on who the person is or how, if they're our twin or any of it. It will be 100% evident when it's time to come into union with our twin that it's mutual. That's the one thing. And it's the journey, it's the mystery, it's the fun, it's the joy. And that's what I do every day, is work with people to bring them from feeling overwhelmed and discombobulated by what the heck happened to making it happen and enjoying their spiritual becoming and tapping in and having this incredible, it's like winning the spiritual lottery to figure out how magnificent we are and how much love is available to us to experience in every moment, not some distant place off in the future unions. It's within, and all else is just icing on the cake.
And the coincidence about all of that too is that a lot of times when you do come into that space of unity within yourself and focusing on your own personal happiness and your own personal path to love, that the other things, whether or not it's your soul flame or twin flame or whatever you want to call it, comes into your life again, but you attract other people and other circumstances that are equally as vibrationally at your same frequency that you are. I've found anyways, because I've met a whole new group of people since I have gone on this little journey for the last year.
Absolutely.
And done so much personal and spiritual growth and emotional growth that I would not have done otherwise had I stayed in the same place. So even having things fall away and going through these heart-wrenching times, there's so much good that comes from it.
It's like grounding into our connection to source rather than into the world. That term grounding, when we're talking spiritually or energetics, we're often told it's something to ground into nature, which is beautiful and that is essential. But the 5D energetics of grounding is really unhooking, unplugging from anything external and plugging in straight to source. And so that becomes our new integrity, our new constant. And then we're free to navigate everything else outside of us. I see it as a light bulb screwed into source. And when we've got that strong connection, our filament, our emotional equilibrium and compassionate non-attachment light up. Yeah. And then that healthy boundary of the glass of the light bulb becomes the healthy boundary by which everything meets us and interfaces. And if it dims our light, we just screw back into source.
Yeah.
We're all good.
Yeah.
How many people
do that analogy to correct our light bulb? That's too funny. That's a great analogy though. And over the course of this last year, and I know it's been our current state of society, I know it's been my personal private life, and I know it's just been my own ascension journey, my own ascension process. It's been like the roller coaster of unscrewing and screwing and unscrewing and screwing. And that's a part of it too, is learning how to pull yourself out of some pretty dark places and shedding who you thought you used to be and getting through all of that. Like I thought I was losing my fucking mind for the last year. And and now it's funny that the more open I was with this, the more I've realized and met people who have been like, me too. And without that courage to speak out and be like, does anyone else feel like they're dying? I don't think I would have found it.
I've joked with a lot of friends. We're all like, so many people have said, I think I might have died in the last 2 years. When was it? Like, when was that moment? Was it this? Was it when that happened? Wow.
Yeah. I've had a lot of deaths actually, and it's really painful. I hope it doesn't last forever, and I don't think it will. It feels less frequent and less intense when it does. Yeah. Like the worst for me was a year ago, and it would be like a few days where I couldn't get out of bed, and I never had depression. I thought maybe I was going through what my mom had, which she had severe depression. But it was usually alcohol induced. So I was like, oh God, is this hereditary? And it just took me till I'm 42 years old for it to kick in. And I was like, no. And it wasn't that. And it was just me shedding old skin and shedding old patterns and getting rid of who I have always been for the most part. You know, the essence is still there. And I know me, and my inner child is still there. But when it comes to a lot of my old patterns, I'm doing my best to shed those. Anyway. Did you go through that process as well?
I have a weird history. I went through a complete Kundalini awakening when I was like 19 or 20. I did a 40-day fast and kind of had an ego death. It was trauma induced. I went through a pretty big awakening, and I had been in Connecticut at the time and ended up just having a total breakdown and ending up at my mom's house in Arizona. And I went through a 40-day fast in the safety of her home, and I just meditated and rebuilt myself from ground zero. Someone once told me it was like I took a sledgehammer to my life and just started over. But I cleared all of that stuff that we just carry in the world, and I systematically just went through it and came through and started building back again. So I did see that we do this on every level. And I think we have these mini deaths on all the chakra levels and the different themes that relate to that. And even the twin flame journey, I believe that the twinning process takes us through that 7 main chakras and other ones as well. But those themes we have to clear and get to a reclaimed baseline with all of those things consciously. Yeah. And not everybody needs to know the philosophy or the backstory or be able to translate it, but it is an energetic thing that happens, whether you know what is happening or not. Some people who've never heard of the twin flame journey, for instance, doesn't mean they're not going to have that kind of level of love in their life. They're just not going to be concerned about the whole inner descriptions of it and all of that.
Right.
Which is always
honestly, it's a lot more simple and less complicated to not have to go through all
totally.
So, good for them.
Yeah. Well, I know sometimes I'm like, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be good.
Especially when it comes to like simplistic soulmate love. Not always simplistic, but I know you can call in whichever type of soulmate that you need, or that's kind of going to help you along your own personal path. And so karmic relationships too, we didn't really touch on that. What is the difference, the main difference between karmic and soulmates then, and twin, all of them, like the karmic?
Well, this is a technique that I like to use to help bring clarity. We know ourselves better than anybody. And so if we can be that observer and go within and really think, what status or what state am I in? You can go back and sort of journey into the moment when you magnetize somebody, a karmic situation, a soulmate, a twin flame, and really search your inner knowing for what what level were you at? Where were you at? What were you looking for? What was the inner atmosphere at that time? So if, for instance, you're just really, really lonely, or if you're really disgruntled about something, or if you really were ready for the real thing, only we know those things about ourselves within. And I've been shown that wherever we're at like that, when someone comes into our lives, that's what's going to play out. That's what they came in for. So depending on the frame of mind or the energetic frequency that we were resonating in when we brought a connection in, sure enough, if we weren't in a good mind space, eventually we're going to see why that wasn't a healthy relationship. But if we are very honest and go into that observation, we can discern what that karmic lesson was, or what the soulmate support, assistance, nurture was that we needed that coming in. And I don't necessarily mean to say that soulmates are good and karmics are bad.
Yeah.
All of it. It's so beautiful. I would say there's karma even in the twin flame journey. Different relationships can mimic some of the reason why the lower vibrational relationships, no matter what you call them, are so attractive, is because they do emulate the divine templates. Everything emulates the original templates and counterfeits it, or accidentally gets it wrong, depending on the level of development. So the really gritty karmic back and forth can mirror the twin flame kind of dance of separation and union and separation. There's that symbol, the caduceus, that has the two serpents that represent the twin, the alignment of the twins' spines and chakra, and the wings. Those are the angelic protection and receiving our union.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that timeline are the periods of catalyzing events and separations that is the natural dance of the twinning process. There is something that's talked about in a lot of dating things called the hero instinct that I've come across that emulates this hero's journey that the twin flame goes on. And so it's a different timeline. There's a very impatient and very 3D based formula for getting into a relationship. If you just want to get into a relationship, there's a lot of different things that we can do to stimulate bonding or the hero instinct to get somebody to respond that way.
I see. Yeah.
But it's very, very transactional. So a typical karmic thing that triggers a hero instinct is like, this is very cliche, but woman says, can you go to the store for eggs? And husband or partner goes to the store for eggs, gets the right eggs or doesn't get the right eggs, for instance. And then there's this banter and he feels successful because he got the eggs. And then there's a reward system, and or maybe got the wrong eggs. Oh, darn, I failed. That kind of a thing. That preoccupies in a lot of relationships. There's this kind of transactional mini success story or failure story cycling out, and this pettiness. It's very distracting, and it permeates relationships based on that sort of convenience. In the twin flame thing, it's a catalyst for growth. And twin flame relationship, because it's divine and pure, you can't actually sustain extended periods of connection with the true twin flame in those kinds of circumstances. The twin drops off, they miraculously disappear. It brings up abandonment. There is this ghosting, breadcrumbing, which is another misleading thing, because there is a appropriate and more cosmic divine catalyzing thing that happens when twin flames appear to be going through that kind of a thing that actually is the perfect catalyst for growth and working on triggers and all of that.
Independence and codependency.
Totally.
And
so unless you're in that and know that it's healthy and it's not a narcissistic thing or an abuse situation, which again is more like the karmic, petty, low vibe stuff. they look the same. And that's where it becomes very, very challenging, because there are beneficial reasons for unconditional love, holding space, and being able to honor the other person and not bind them and own them and tell them what to do. And it questions the twin flame journey is really for people who are very compassionate and advanced spiritually, so they can be accountable and honor each other with those things. Whereas the karmic stuff is just very dense and unconscious in a lot of ways.
Definitely.
Not a lot of compassion and
Right.
But
you also learn, though, because I was going to say,
right,
because it depends on how we were raised in our upbringing and in previous lives and whatnot, how we end up showing up in this world. And I think when you start learning and we can learn how to be pretty abrupt humans depending on our
and I've been one of those.
And controlling, and I have been as well. But learning throughout this process and shedding a lot of those old templates and a lot of those old stories that I've told myself and abandonment issues and insecurities, I've noticed my compassion raise. So just to clear up, somebody might be like, oh, well, I've been jealous and I've been controlling. I'm on it. That's not quite the case.
No, when you can observe yourself being that way, that's actually one of the indicators that you are on it, because you can actually track your own growth. And I feel like, because like I said, we're coming from this 3D to the 5D, from the density to the light, from the barbaric to the compassionate. We're making the jump in this generation. And so we were all born into that crap, like all of us. And because when we have our eyes open to it and it doesn't feel like a fit to us, we begin working that puzzle. And it's frustrating because it was handed to us. When kids are up until age 7, they're in theta brainwave state. So everything that we are exposed to, we take as gospel, and we're imprinted. Our operating code is saturated with whatever we're born into. And if our parents aren't conscious, we get that from them. Collectively, we are doing well. And that's part of the demystifying motion, is when we depersonalize it and we remember this is a collective thing. And to bring it back to what you were saying, we still all learn. Yes, the karmic way of learning is very, very slow-mo. It's when we go to a source outside of ourselves, the big picture, our higher connection, whatever deity you align with. We go outside of ourselves, we can make quantum leaps in the progress. But we are creatures of growth. We are wired for that. We are spirit, and we are here to grow. So whether we grow and it's painstakingly slow and we're not even aware of the cycles that we're going around and around in, we're still growing, because we're still doing things slightly different, slightly better.
Every time,
because we're going to stub our toe if we don't, so we have to move the coffee table. It's just like that kind of very dense stuff. And then the more we get confident on that, the more we realize that we can empower growth. And this was something that I remember hearing back in maybe before 2012, is there was a dominant belief that human nature couldn't change. Just in our recent lifetime, psychology was talking about human nature not being changeable.
Yes, wow.
When we bring spiritual, totally. And so now we're really flying with it, like the secret and manifestation and all of the different things that are
plant medicine has really burst that whole veil wide open, especially I found. And it's there's a reason for that. People are like, oh, there's a different way to have the same experience, but and then get lessons and downloads.
Yeah. I call those things, I came to the term keys of the world.
Yes.
All of the ways that human beings can unlock the doors to the other side of the veil. Every single way has power.
Meditation.
All of it.
Dream.
Yeah.
Or maybe fasting for 40 days. I'm not sure. I've never like that.
Yeah. That's definitely an extreme one. Yeah.
Don't do this at home, kids, unless you're under supervision.
Oh, yeah, totally. No, that was a unique situation. And I will admit, I even was almost going to check myself into a facility at one point, and then realized that wasn't what was needed. And I totally restructured my core.
You need
Yeah,
to write a book on that. That's
definitely.
fascinating.
I have a few books.
Amazing. Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to hear more about that.
I've always kind of done what I want.
Do what I want. I do what I want. Ditto. I'm just learning too, anyways, especially these last, I would say, probably 10 years or so after leaving my corporate job. I was like, yeah, nope, I can't. I don't fit in this square peg round hole. Like I just don't fit. Square peg round hole. And it's taken me a really long time and I'm still working through that. But that's also been a part of my process, is to go through my phases that I've had. Like I had my corporate phase, I had my university phase, I had my party again phase. Like I hadn't done that enough in my life. And then, but all of that brought its own elements of growth and what I needed to learn and my lessons, and it's brought me right to where I am. So I definitely don't regret any of it. However, I'm a lot more further behind, and I say that in air quotes because I don't think there is a timeline for anything like this. But if you compare yourself, which we should never do, I do feel that, but that's a part of the whole process. What do you say to the people that are also going through the shedding process and restarting again and again and again?
Yeah, there's more than meets the eye. It's definitely nothing to do with the physical. That is a conduit for energy. And when you come into alignment, especially in the ascended frequencies, there's more wind in the sails for people who are streamlining their intentions in their own right. And so even though we have been systematically taught, don't bother, like just stay small, just keep feeding into the machine, like it's gonna do your day job.
9 to 5 or 9 to 9. Yeah.
That is losing its hypnotic thing over the people. The internet, I remember in like back in the MySpace days when MySpace first came out and Facebook, I did a happy dance. I got up when I was on my old IBM computer and I saw that happening and I did like a little like, the people are winning, the people are winning. I was like, the cyborgs are not winning and the people are winning. Like, we're connecting. This is happening. We're really moving past, and it's the information sharing and just the energy of it. Like, don't pay too much attention to what the world would say is success. Because if you are having your daily needs met, if you've got a roof over your head at all, it's energetically binding to get into contracts and things. So just getting yourself all into debt and contracts and owning things, it's a false construct. And we think it provides us stability and structure, but it's outside of ourselves and it's fed to us. It actually undermines and keeps us distracted. That opulence even keeps us distracted from grounding into the core. And
getting the valuable lessons rather than the superficial lessons.
We start getting energized and excited about the things that naturally emanate from, Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. That's a perfect example. When we connect with core, we can remember then again what our bliss even is.
Right.
And what direction to go in. And once we start doing that, it actually gathers steam really, really quickly. But it's about giving permission to follow our bliss, not what our mom thinks is our bliss or the person down the street or
not ourselves from 10 years ago.
Totally. Taking all of that back and just giving permission.
I've noticed that as well too. As soon as I started doing this podcast, for example, and started tapping in and connecting with like-minded souls and really having vulnerable shares and going through that process, how much things have started to evolve and change and new ideas sprouting and avenues and doors opening and new connections that are really going to help out in the future of this kind of path.
Absolutely.
Everything.
It's like a tree's branching pattern, like a tree starting to grow. And the natural places, you just prune off a branch here and there that's not producing good fruit, and you keep going in the direction that's natural. It's following the natural flow of life. And it's just about paying attention to where that energy actually is and trusting. We can really discern, muscle testing is another way to do it. And you can feel your emotional response or your physical response to certain potentials. You get these two choices, which one feels like it's a positive and enlivening experience and which one is like, heck no.
Training exhausting. Exactly. So bringing that back into the twin flame and soulmate journeys. Is there a way to decipher? Because if you're going along one little path and you're doing your healing work and you're connecting with different people and you have one connection and say it is your twin, if you're aligning with that. And one of the souls is not growing as much as the other per se, or there's like some resistance. I guess that's when separation happens, or
Yeah, I mean,
the deal.
everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. And so when we are weighing out the odds and feeling into, whenever we're aware of a choice point like you just described, it's because we are needing to make a decision. We're obviously aware of a duality or a choice at hand. And so, yeah, it is about, again, grounding back into source so that we are our own conduit and our own free will, universal perspective, that nothing, whether we label somebody a twin or a soulmate or anything, if it's a beneficial thing for us and it's in alignment with us, that's the direction we need to go in at any given moment. On the twin flame journey, you will often see a mirroring effect, and you will be aware of a sort of twin tensegrity behind the scenes.
What is twins?
That's a term, twin tensegrity. It's the stability.
Okay.
It's the stability structure that we get. It's like an energetic accountability buddy. If you're on a twin flame journey, there is this weird connection that you've got with somebody that just seems to pop up in those moments where you're doing you. And there's just this added layer of validation, or added layer of knowing, or added layer of that one person knows what's up, and I'm just going to keep doing me. And you might not even be in contact with that person.
Right.
It's just this energetic thing. Soulmates don't often have that. But having said that, there is a time and place for soulmate connection and karmic connections. I mean, so many times on the twin flame journey, people will be in connection with their twin and then go off to be with other people and then come back together. And there's different stages of the journey, or one person will be with somebody else and then the other one will be at a different time. When we go and catalyze with a twin and we're pulled off into separation.
Sometimes it doesn't have to be different people. It can be career and needing to heal, or whatever it is. The third party situation, it's called quite often. And tarot card reading doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be another person. I really need to focus on this, or I need to focus on that. And we get pulled.
Yeah. So whatever the awareness is that comes in when we have a go round with our twin and then we're pulled into a separation, we literally just integrate the lessons in sovereign motion. And as those new paradigms take root and they become supportive, we see the benefit, and it empowers us and encourages us. And then we reach this height and frequency of appreciation for it. And then we see how it was connected to our twin, even though that moment of pulling us apart or going in a different direction, even if, for instance, your career pulls you off and you say, I have to do this for now, there is a reason in that. And then we go and both have to integrate what that reason was. It's an energetic, spiritual thing. I like energetics. It's more accessible than spiritual, but it's still that same realm of the intangible. Anyways, we get pulled and then we are changed by it. And by the time we come back for another go around with our twin, we've come into excited anticipation and we're ready for more. And that's when we know we're going to magnetize another meetup with our person, is when we've done that. It's very predictable every single time. And so if we're not I'm so excited to meet up with this person, you're not coming into another go around with a union in the physical. Permanent union is once we've balanced out all of those things and there's enough.
Sorry, there's a tail spread. Kind of, I thought your hair was doing something funny, but continue. That's a cat.
Was that on my side?
Yeah, it's a cat.
That's my spirit animal of independence.
Look at that.
She shows up when we're talking about autonomy. Every time she just comes right in, and it's just a reminder. Our journeys are our journeys.
She's a nice reminder when you're talking about that.
She totally comes in. And so we're just talking about those periods of integration alone, and boom, it always happens.
And that is synchronicity at its finest right there.
Can't make it up. It happens.
No, you really can't. And with the tarot cards too, I was wondering, I know we didn't talk about this at all, but do you have them around?
I have so many of
Oh,
them
do you? I thought this was
right now.
Like, I know that's where you film your readings on. Oh my God.
Yeah, in my office. So this is my first deck. Yeah.
Very cool.
I mean, yeah, I have a whole bunch of different ones. My lovely YouTube viewership sends me these. Now, what would you like to know about the tarot
I don't
card?
know. Just maybe pull one, see what it says. I don't know.
Okay. I mean,
throw up a gosh. How are you feeling about that?
I mean, sure. I mean, it's only limited by the question we ask. And I find, it's a spiritual law. You ask and it is given. And that's why I know there's no uncharted territory that cannot be accessed by the question we ask. And that's just a faith-based thing that, like, bring it on, ask any kind of question, but let's just,
ask a nice collective one, maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking collective too. Like, what is the most important frequency that the viewership for this podcast needs to know at this time?
Amazing. Perfect.
What can we see? Yeah. So this is the Starseed Oracle by Wizard Azanon. He's like a independent out of Washington, and this is such a high frequency, incredible deck. You can get it on Etsy. I didn't plan on doing the plug, but it's one of my favorites.
I'll plug it down in the description too. What came out?
Okay. We literally got the card of union, which is the big catchword in twin flame stuff.
So what does it say?
Seal of clairsentience, clarity, knowledge, channeling, and union. So, I mean, again, you can't make it up. Generally, this is divine. It's union. Yeah, like 118 or I don't know.
Whoa.
Something big.
That's wild.
So we get union. So I get messages when I pull cards, and what I heard when this came out is believe it. People who might be skeptical, that might not think love is for them. Love is for everyone. It's union within. It's union. I know you touched on it a little bit. Like, what if I'm struggling and drowning and in this karmic thing, and I think I'm not worthy? We all come from that. And then we become worthy because we allow the process. It's this, the union within, the clarity, knowledge, and channeling. Channeling is interesting. I heard somebody say once that channeling is supposed to be our natural way of life. We are literally just supposed to be channeling that higher guidance at all times. Negating that part of us, or not trusting our intuition, not trusting ourselves, not feeling permissible to tap into something more than just this zombified 3D kind of going through the motions. That is an existential crisis. We get unglued in that alignment or misalignment. And so, we're talking about union and channeling and coming into clarity. Clarity, knowledge. Totally. So,
and that's not surprising at the same time. It is so real. I bought some cards myself, and I've just been pulling them here and there, and it's bizarre when I go to ask, and I'm like, I were to have asked any other question, because I'm still I'm still doing my skeptic through it all, and I was like, no, that card wouldn't have made any sense in any other question that I was debating asking, but I asked
totally,
and it made so much sense.
Totally.
So, very strange and so wonderful at the same time. And kind of scary for those. I know some people, when they see tarot cards, they might freak out, because that's a direct line to other realms that freaks people out, if they...
Yeah, it's powerful. Manifestation. I'm freaked out of Ouija board. I won't touch it.
Oh my God, my best friend just got one, and we were going to use it, but she was like, my husband will kick me out of the house if I break that thing out.
Like, I'll play with tarot cards all day, but I won't touch Ouija.
Last time I touched a Ouija board, I think I was in grade 6, and there was a bunch of us girls, and it moved, and there was screaming, and that was the last of it. I don't know why I got one, but I'm kind of curious.
So let me demystify the tarot then. So the tarot, it is a really sacred psychology tool. It's a bridge. The major arcana really talk about that hero's journey. It is just ripe with the whole spiritual becoming, and it talks about the twin, like the lovers, that is the higher love and the higher love that exists regardless. But the major arcana in the tarot, it's the fool's journey and it's the hero's journey. It's the overcoming. And the world card starts out naive at the 0 untapped potential with the fool. And it goes through this storyboard of the hero's journey to the world. It culminates in ascension when we go through that. So, we go through these periods. You hear 7-year itch, or like decades. Each decade teaches a different lesson. But then we also have this huge fractal of the ascension for humanity. We're always going through these cyclical things, and it's always just the big picture keeps getting bigger. But the tarot really is a psychology tool because it indicates those things. Intention and probabilities and the quantum comes into play. It is a game of the nature of reality because we're instantly manifesting the answers to our questions. When I do a tarot reading, I always say a prayer that says, "Thank you, Divine Creator, for bringing through only the highest and most beneficial information." And so energetically, that's the protection and the intention set to only access it. If you ask, it is given. And so I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that as high frequency as I can get the messages, that's what's going to come through. And so in that way, it's not harmful. For me, setting the intention as a reader, I'm tuning into the highest frequencies, and that's my intention. Somebody who is not so inclined could really do some damage with tarot. It is something that you need to be accountable with, because somebody who is vindictive or has an ulterior motive can go in there and really the power of suggestion and get in there and be very not accountable. And people who use things like that will be,
and that's karma again.
Reaping their
karma. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so for me, it's been an abundance thing because there's just nothing but love and light that come through it.
Absolutely. And I've noticed to flip my questions that I have for myself too, always in a positive way. Like I never want to ask something like, what will happen to me if anything like that. It's always has the positive spin, and to make sure that I am just asking things that are benefiting just my higher knowledge and my higher self, I guess you could say.
Right. And in that sense, they can still be triggering. So there's a really good differentiation there, because it's not that we want to just sugarcoat everything and focus on the fluff, but we can use tarot to really get in. It's again, those questions. If we want to be productive with the questions, we might get into the vicinity of things that are challenging and triggering and all of that, but at least we can bring some clarity and the higher in that way. Exactly. So it's such a good tool because it's got all the archetypes. And with the tarot suits, we've got the physical realm with the pentacles, and that's all the finances and abundance and the material stuff. And then we've got the cups. Those are the emotions and love and relationships. And then the wands, that's the soul stuff and the life purpose and all of that stuff. And then the swords, it's our mind space and our action and our words and our speech. So depending on the configurations, it's such a beauty. It's storytelling, it's myth. It is the high priestess kind of energy, and in that realm, I love it.
Oh, I love it too. You got the hook. I think you're one of the first tarot card readers that I watched, and it took me a really long time to get my own deck. I was just really enjoying what you guys offered and brought to the table, and then I was just like, well, I need to get some for myself. So I got the Starseed Oracle and the Moonology and just a Rider-Waite.
Rider-Waite,
yeah. Yeah, Rider-Waite. Yeah. Sorry. And they've just been interesting and fun to play with, but I'm keeping it at that kind of light level. And how can people find you on YouTube? Where do they?
Yeah, Meredith Crystal and Mineral Oracle. And that's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, I'll link to it.
Yeah, it's because I've written a series of crystal and mineral oracle cards that will be rolling out this coming year. So that was the namesake. So those are all going to be pretty amazing. There's 3. Thank you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, 312 different minerals and crystals, and they are really advanced. So there's the crystal deck, the actualization deck, and then there's the Lightworker, Starseed, and Earthworker decks. So they're organized in different alignments that way, and some of them get into things like levitation and time bending, and it's really cool
level, which is perfect because we're all evolving.
Really,
that's
absolutely, and I'm so excited. Yeah, so that's coming up in this year, and yeah,
definitely let me know. And when that is here, and if you're listening to this podcast or watching this YouTube channel after the fact, I will be linking links to get those below. But I'll just go and follow her on YouTube. Anyway, you might also be starting a podcast yourself as well.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, it's a little low key right now because it's a little bit sexy. So we'll see.
Right. And I love sexy time. I'd love to come on that because I know you mentioned.
Oh yeah, you can definitely. And I would love to do whatever with your tarot. It's
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I would like to see if I'm even like, doing it right.
Do you have tarot cards near you?
I do. Yes.
Okay, let's pull a card.
Okay. I'll pull a card.
I want you to ask, are you doing it right?
I know how to do the yes or no too with like the regular deck.
Well, your rider weight. Yeah. Or that one. Yeah. Yeah. Use the rider weight. I mean, the oracles are good too. You do what you want. I do what I want.
For yes or no. Let's see if I can remember which one would be a yes or no when I pull even.
Yeah. So do a card and ask, am I doing it right? No, ask what you could improve or what is your next level of growth, or you find a question. This is part of the skill. It's knowing what question to ask.
Yeah. I like what's my next level of growth. And I always shuffle 3 times.
Okay.
Yes. The trine.
You teach your guides how to work with you. You teach the cards how to respond. And that's a faith-based thing for you. If you have a consistency that works for you, you get confidence as it produces the results that you become familiar with. So it is like, that's the manifestation thing. I work with mine differently. I have my little funny
thing. Yeah, I love your prayer. I do. When I actually first started, my prayer sounded kind of similar. I'm like, where'd I get that from? I'm like, oh no, it's my own. I couldn't help it. Okay. And I go like this. I don't know if you're listening to this on a podcast, you'll have to come watch the YouTube channel. And then I flip it that way. Oh, I got the 6 of Swords in reverse, which actually makes it a yes, doesn't it? The 6 of Swords in reverse.
Yeah. So what was your question again?
Yeah, I was asking if what my next level of growth was and if I was doing it right. So if I was doing it right, I asked first in my head.
Okay, so what do we? Okay, shuffle.
If I was doing
this is just too convoluted. See, that's why the 6 of Swords. This is like a terrible joke for anybody that reads tarot. The 6 of Swords in reverse is hilarious because it answered both of your questions. The 6 of Swords is literally in the upright progress. Yeah. So what would you do to progress? But then it turned in the reverse, which means you're blocking your progress. And I just said, it didn't answer a clear enough question. So it's calling you out. Like
that's so insane. Okay. So what was the question? Now I'm all like freezing. It's the first time I've done it. I'm just having deja vu right now as well. It's weird. Shuffling tarot on a camera, talking to you.
That means you are definitely
in the right direction.
So deja vu, metaphysically speaking, is such an interesting one because it's an invitation to let go of the control, because we do suddenly realize that things are maybe predestined, that there is some bigger power that we are kind of at the mercy of. And there is a surrender that's demanded when we're in deja vu. We have to just be like, okay, that was a weird feeling. And I'm not in control.
Yeah.
There's something bigger going on. And so, it's interesting. And this is that added thing. Oh. Okay, what's your question?
Okay. I know. I always like to peek when I'm shuffling, even if I'm in the midst of asking a question when a card flips out, because I can't help it. And they flip out all the time. Okay, my question is, what is the next stage in my ascension process and journey? I think.
Ooh, like your growth, my growth. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Oh, it went the other way. Oh my God, I got the Lovers.
So what does the Lovers card represent to you?
To me, it represents duality. Kind of choices are in there as well, but also union. And also within myself personally too, coming into my own personal union and following my own personal path of self-love.
Yeah.
I think all of those things.
Yeah, the Lovers being a major arcana. The 2 of Cups is like the minor arcana version of the Lovers. And so the Lovers is the love that exists whether we believe in it or not. And so we always have the free will choice to know that storyboard of higher love exists. And so when the Lovers comes up, it's always this bell ringing to go higher, to remember that is real, whether we've thought it or not, and to keep reaching for that higher knowing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, I love indiscretion. Oh, amazing. Oh, well, on that note, I can't believe I pulled the lovers. What are the odds of that?
So good.
At first, when I looked down, because they're all these cards are kind of a similar color, I thought it was the tower, and I'm like, great, I've experienced enough tower moments last year. I really don't need another one right now. But it was not. It was the total opposite. Yay.
The reminder, love is real.
Yay.
Love is real.
Love is real. I needed that reminder. So thank you.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Butterflies. Well, I
Must
really
be a good thing.
Yes, definitely. Well, I'm so glad we finally got to connect, because I feel like since you're just on YouTube, the screen is there. I feel like I know you. So now I feel like we've got each other. So
a pleasure.
I love
you.
I love you too. Oh my goodness, so much.
Fun.
Amazing, so fun. Well, thank you so much, and I'll link down below where everyone can find Meredith and all of her wonderful talents, mind-blowing talents. And you're just so effervescent on screen, and just so like gracious and insightful. So many things. My dog's like freaking out. She agrees. She's like,
she was so quiet and honoring. I felt like she was
she actually every time, every podcast episode, she usually barks or something. And she was quite quiet, and she just came down to show her excitement.
Sweetie.
I was hosting. So amazing. Well, thank you again. And thanks to everyone out there who's tuned in. And please go check her out. She's such a phenomenal soul. And I promise you'll be really excited, and to learn more about the twin flame journey as well, and soul journeys as well. It's fascinating stuff. So and
thanks everyone.
No, sorry.
I was just going to also say thanks for everybody who's had fun with this podcast. And I don't just do twin flame. I'd love to connect. So if you ever want tarot readings or anything, my links for sessions are in my description. But I don't just do twin flame. I love spiritual development and getting people out of karma and patterns and cycles and into freedom, whether you're a twin flame or not. That is like definitely a niche that you might be a twin flame, you might not. There's no like award system that if you're a twin flame, you're better than somebody else.
No, definitely not.
But it's a thing. But anyways, hi, new friend. I love you.
Hi, new friend. I love you too. Thanks again so much to everyone who joined in too. And be sure to check her out. And don't forget to like and follow or comment or whatever. I'm so new to this YouTube thing that I'm.
Oh, and I'm going to be sharing you everywhere too. This is going.
Well, thanks for that, because I think I have 38 subscribers. So that's my number, though. So it's fine. It is what it is. It's all a part of the process, and I just started, so I'm just learning and everything. But I'm just so happy that you came online. Such a delight. So thanks again.
It's been so much fun.
Yeah, it has been truly. But you stay on, and we'll say goodbye to them, and we'll recap. So
good. Thanks.
Don't forget to like and comment and all that stuff. Give me some love. Okay, bye, y'all.
Bye.